We're live. And we are live. Good morning. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Harriet Kimmick Show. Today is Wednesday, the 24th. Is that it? I cannot believe it. I almost had to look again to make sure that I could see the date. Today is Wednesday, the 24th. Unbelievable. Of April. April, the fourth month of the year. And today is the 24th day. Wow. When I think back, seriously, when I think back, hey everybody, thanks for joining. How are you? When I think back about the journey to this point and to think that today is the 24th of April, it's unbelievable. I ask for your prayers. I ask for your prayers because seriously, I'm struggling with unbelief right now that today is the 24th of April. But you know something? It's a good thing because just a few months ago, or just a few weeks ago, I would look through my window and see something called snowflakes. Anybody ever heard of those? I hope I never see for months. Right? Good morning. How are you? This is Arthur Henderson saying good morning. Good morning. Right? So I hope I never see another snowflake for months. Yes, you can go and tell them I said that. But seriously, today is Wednesday, the 24th, and it's going to be our motivation day, right? So if you know somebody who needs a little bit of motivation, tell them to head on over or share this video with them. As usual, I ask you to support our causes, the Exodus Foundation, of which I'm the executive director. We provide services to survivors of human trafficking. And so I'd like you to head over to the exodusfoundation.com, right on the homepage, contribute, send us a donation to show us your support, that not only do you view our broadcast, but that you support us by helping us to continue to deliver services. You can also buy my books. They're available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. I speak wherever I'm invited to speak. We talk about the issues that matter. I'm a motivational speaker, right? So that means I go in and I empower people. So go head on over to my site, harrietkimmick.com, and let us know that these broadcasts that you're seeing are a blessing to you and how much they're uh, improving your lives. Today is Wednesday. And as I woke up this morning and I thought about what I wanted to say, uh, some days we have guests, so we bring people on. If you notice, I tend to invite people whose stories are interesting, people for whom they have a story. I like a story. I like to hear how the human spirit overcomes the obstacles that beset us. It perhaps is because I myself have overcome great obstacles. That could be it. But stories are also inspiring. I think that our lives are a roadmap. And I think it behooves all of us to live our lives in such a way that even to someone who is watching, that they can see that there is a change coming, that there is some change. They can almost mark the point at which your life turned around, your life changed, and that something great has taken place. In my life, there are many great things that have taken place, but I allowed the process of attrition to keep me. And what it did was it bent me. So it helped me to become who I am today. And so I tend to invite people to my show who have a story to tell and whose stories I think will benefit you as well. Just hearing what they have gone through, what they've had to survive. And I kid you not, some of these folks have had some incredible stories to tell. You will come across them as we continue our expose on life. Uh, I also like to hear stories that are informative. For instance, tomorrow our show will be at 7 p.m. and I think we have an encore episode at 7 p.m. So our usual show starts at 10, but our encore episode will be at 7 p.m. And we will talk again with Kawan Hill, who was on our show last week. And on he Facebook Live and he had over 6,000 views or something like that. So people said, you need to go back and talk more. So he's going to come back and talk about HIV prevention and perhaps offer some of us who have children who are struggling with the emerging of their sexual identity to come forward. But I wanted to say before we started off, on a few days ago, we had on Monday, we talked about church fires. Remember that? We've been talking about that since last week. And on Monday, I posted a picture of the church fire at Notre Dame Cathedral, right? And what got me about that picture was how the smoke was coming off the altar. It was sort of a type and shadow on how the cross was in the background. Well, somebody asked me a question, and I said, I'm a Christian. That's what I believe. Everyone is entitled or feels comfortable in their belief system. I am a Christian. So somebody asked, what do you believe? I believe in the life teachings of Christ. And here's why. 2,000 years later, these are some of the reasons why. 2,000 years later, we're still talking about him. Jesus Christ was a leader, a teacher, and a revolutionary who simply captivated people's attention with his message. So he emerged on the scene and was able to convince people of his message. That's all there is to it, really. You don't have to believe as I do. Neither do I have to believe as you do. I respect your belief systems. I expect that you're going to respect mine as well. But this is what I believe. So I'm not going to hide under a bush or hide under a bushel and not say it is what it is. For me, it is what it is. It's just what it is. Now there are some people for somehow today's world, it's not sophisticated and it's not politically correct to say what you believe. You don't have to. You don't have to be public as I have been. But then my calling is different, right? You might be able to say it in a community and you're lucky enough that it is accepted. But for some of us, when we say it, it becomes a point of difference. Now, I don't believe in fundamentalism in any form. Let me just be clear about that. So I don't believe some of the things that some people who say they're Christians are doing. I don't believe in racism, the perpetuation of that myth of racism. I don't believe in economic oppression of anybody. So if they're doing it in the name of religion, I don't believe in that. Uh, I don't believe in violence. I don't believe that you need to beat someone over the head to convince them to believe as you believe. I believe that you should flow in your belief system and share it if you feel the person is receptive. And if they're not, that's fine. I have people around me who are Buddhists, they're Islam, they're Jewish, they're everything else but. And there are people who say, I just simply don't believe. Okay, I'm fine with that. Are you a human being? You're fine with me. You respect me. I respect you. We're good. But I think the time has come for us to be clear in what we believe so that when asked a question, you can tell. When the story comes out, you can say, well, here's what I believe and here's what I have issues with. And find out the areas that you have issues with. There's some things that simply are not my forte. Yeah, there's some parts of Christianity that I have found that are more tradition than their actual belief system. So I go back to the basics and I find out, I go to the source and I find out what's the real truth. Because sometimes myths collectively over time are perpetuated as truths. Isn't that true? Right? They're perpetuated as truths, but they really are not. So you have to examine, where did this start? If it's not written, right, then I tend to view it as a tradition. And if it's a tradition, it's subject to change. I also believe in evolution, the evolving of times, not evolution like none of us. I don't believe human beings came from animals. I believe we are created beings. I believe that just like the dog, the cat, the alligator, the snake, the tiger, and the lion are created, human beings are created. I believe that we're at the top of the food chain. Definitely. Right? I do believe that. But I don't believe that we were once a chimpanzee or a monkey, and then over time we evolved into walking as human beings. That don't make no sense to me because I don't have any animal instincts whatsoever. I believe that we're human beings and that we're created to inhabit this planet, right? So I just wanted to be clear on that because someone asked me, and I just wanted them to know that using this forum, this is what I believe. And I'm not going to hide. If they come looking for me, so be it. Okay? So it is what it is, right? At some point, It is. It's just like if they were to come and ask me if I'm Alexandra's mother or if I'm Annalisa's mother. I can't hide. I might want to dog and say, what did she do first before I say so? But I can't really hide. Not only is it written on birth certificates and government records, but the DNA is going to sort of say so, right? So I just wanted to say that. So today is Wednesday. So we're going to use this time to talk a little bit about something that was on my mind this morning when I woke up. And I was thinking about life, and I was thinking about how, as some of us approach middle age, that just sounds so antiquated. Can we not use that term, middle age? It sounds so antiquated. It's almost as if it's marginalizing us to make us believe that there is no life after 45 or that you have no contribution to make. I was watching a show on Hulu. Anybody has Hulu? It's called Casual. And it's about this woman. She's 47 and is divorced, finds herself divorced. And she has a teenage daughter who is 16. And so, finding herself divorced, all of a sudden, she doesn't know who to date because the dating scene has changed. So, she went on a website to sign up. And on that website, the acceptable age was 18 to 45. So she said, hey, I'm still going to sign up. So she still put in her application to join that website. It's a dating website. And the response that came back was, you are outside of the criteria and acceptable age limits. And she's a psychiatrist. So she took it, she took that to town, right? Naturally. She did it to see what the reaction was. And the perspective that was given is, after 45, you're no longer deemed a sexual being, you're no longer attractive, you're no longer, well, so I watched that for a little bit and I'm like, it's time for us to change that, because many of us who are past 45, I'm 52. I'm 52. Some of you look, and most of you who are in our 50s, we look like we just got started. We look like we just turned 30. In fact, our bodies are still working as if it's 30. So when I looked at that, I said to myself, how unfair a comparison is that? But what got to me was how she was coping with life after divorce. And because she's a psychiatrist, she has the tools, right, to talk herself off the ledge. But it's one thing to tell others how to do it. It was entirely a different thing for her now to have to walk out her own advice. So when I woke up this morning, I thought about that a little bit and I said, what would you do if it happens to you? Suddenly, what would you do if you lost a job? It's not just a job. It was your occupation. It was your reason for waking up in the morning. What would you do if you were just suddenly divorced? Your spouse comes home and tells you they don't want to be with you anymore, or they don't want to be married to you anymore, right? What would you do? What do you do if you get some life-threatening diagnosis that threatens your longevity, threatens your lifespan? What would you do? And it occurred to me that that is something that we all have walked in one form or another. And how we emerge from that is a testament to the human spirit. It's a testament to how we view life and how we overcome. And make no mistake about it, it's also a learning curve, because sometimes we assume things in life. We assume that the marriage we're in is going to last forever. We assume the relationship we're in is the best one and it's going to be there forever. We assume the jobs we have, the positions or titles we hold is going to keep us. We went back to school. We got 3 more degrees. We got as many degrees as we could to ensure that we would not be in the unemployment line. But then there is that reality that confronts us. The decisions that are made are invariably made by people 20 years younger than we are. And so they're threatened and intimidated by your wisdom, right? When they dismiss you and say you don't know what you're talking about in an offhand way, what they really are doing is saying, I don't want to judge my wisdom as compared to yours. When they tell you that you are not tech savvy, what they're trying to say is that you're too old, you don't matter, you're insignificant, you're irrelevant. That's not true. The information and expertise you have can be honed. It can be used. It has nothing to do with technology. It's about life skills and people skills, something that somebody who's 20 something would not have a darn clue about, right? In fact, truthfully, If the truth be known, the cognitive functions in our brain, the executive functions, the point of our brains that does the executive functions, that's this part, it isn't fully developed until one becomes 25. Hence the reason why you should never hand your company over to a 28-year-old, because they're not fully mentally developed yet to make the kinds of decisions that are not yet companies hand over to them all the time. Why? Because companies want new cutting edge. They want people who will take great risks, and they use this term fresh ideas that they spend millions of dollars chasing, and that doesn't work. If you don't believe me, just look at the major gaffes or mistakes that companies have been making in the last several years. Mistakes such as mistakes in advertising that affects the perception of a company's image. Those come from employing really young people who have not a clue what the ultimate response is going to be. They have not a clue because they don't have the life skills yet. They don't have the full circumference of the life skills. But you can't tell them that because they think they know everything, right? So people employ them. They replace people who have more savvy and who have more wisdom. Yeah. And then what happens? Your brand gets destroyed, right? The company's brand gets destroyed, right? So I'm saying all of this because in a lot of ways, what happens to a lot of us is that we are told that we are no longer effective. Even in our relationships, your spouse might be surrounded by young people at work all day. So he starts feeling his Jones, yeah, he sort of starts feeling his juices flowing. He feels that his marriage and the the conversations that you have are no longer stimulating him. So he runs off with someone else. You're in middle age, and he runs off with someone 20 years younger than you. And he says how the sex is great and life is just great until he runs into a stumbling block. And that person, 20 years younger than you, does not have the life skills to cope with it, does not have the life skills to help him negotiate or navigate, and continues to make bad decision after decision until one day he finds himself blurting out, "You are not like my first wife. You're not like Margaret." And she's standing there like, "Oh, really? Is that what it is?" And then he realizes that he really had based a long-term decision on a short-term situation by how good he felt at the time. And he used that to make that long-term decision moving forward. Right? Good morning. So as we move and matriculate through life, it takes great wisdom to hold on even in times when everything else is unstable. You're at a job and you've been there for 20 years, yeah? And now it starts to feel shaky. And now it starts to feel uncertain because the minute they start bringing in newer, younger people, watch out. That means they're attritioning people out. So don't just sit there and not change. Improve your skills. Even sometimes when you have gone back to school and get the degree and you've improved your skills, ageism, classism, racism, and all the isms combined usually determine how you're going to move on afterwards. But what you're doing is you're building yourself up. You're investing in yourself. This is why I say to folks all the time, no matter how much you give to your spouse, your partner, your children, and everyone else, don't forget the most important person in that. It's you. Always invest in you. Always improve your skills. Always make sure that you're on the cutting edge. Even if they laugh at you, that's fine. Go out and do some spinning yoga or whatever. I mean, it doesn't look like I do, but I haven't been adept at my workout recently. I haven't had the energy in the mornings. If you want to know the truth, it's coming. So I tend to do it at night sometimes, and if I'm not too exhausted, right? But so don't judge me, right? But when I do. It's a good thing I have been doing it for years because it's kept me at a time like this when I'm feeling a lot less energetic than I used to, right? But a lot of us, we allow the roles that we play to define us. We allow the roles that we play. We're wife to Tom Brown. So I am Mrs. Tom Brown. So you are Mrs. Tom Brown, right? And we allow whoever or Tom Brown is. That's our definition of ourselves. And then when Tom comes and he says, "I want a life change. I don't want to be married to you, Susan, anymore." All of a sudden, your whole life is different. Do you see where I'm coming from? The point of the matter is that we have to invest in ourselves. It's just like being on the job. You've been there for 20 years. Have you done any courses or certificate courses while you were there? Yes, you have developed some skill and efficiency in it. Yes, but have you invested in yourself? Learn new skills. They have a new class, go sign up for it. Don't, oh my God, I have to do this, I have to do that. Yes, invest in yourself. Sometimes what I've heard younger people say about older workers is that older workers are lazy and complacent. And I'm like, and do you clean up your room? Did you wash your underwear this morning? Did you have a shower before you got to work? Did you shave? Right? Do you see what I'm saying? And you're calling people lazy because they have a full life and they have other stuff to do outside of what you think might be important. But the point I'm making is invest in yourself. Because here's the truth. Midlife comes, and when it comes, certain things happen. There is evolution, and it's a violent. Anytime chaos comes, it's always violent. Isn't that the truth? So when the change comes and the evolution comes, it almost creates a revolution in your life. Things are just going out of control, and something gets lost in the attrition. I know how important this is because I've had to do the same things that I've had to do. I've experienced job loss in midlife at 45, and I couldn't figure what I was going to do, where I was going to turn. And it took me completely by surprise. I was not prepared for it. And a lot of stuff was happening all at the same time. My oldest daughter was going to college. My job changed. I had to move from my apartment. I mean, everything was just like, phew. And it hit me all at once. Suddenly, I realized I'm 45, closer to 50, and I'm not married. Do I want to get married? Maybe I should, because as you get older, you want someone to be with. And all of a sudden, my life, my perspective began to change. Something that I had not prepared myself for. I thought I was going to just be fine and sail and just transition from one to the other, just like making a step and stepping over. That does not happen in real life. Change is a constant of life. And it hit me because I was always saying that change is a constant of life. But when it was my turn, I was acting like, oh my God, how did this happen to me? I was caught unaware. I can't forget telling my mother and telling my friends at the time, I can't believe this happened to me. I was caught unaware. What happened? I had not looked ahead to see that something's come. You have to prepare yourself that things are going to change. I like to look at it like every 5 years. Every 5 years, there's a rotation. The real truth is it's 7 years. Every 7 years, things change. At the 5 year mark, you can start seeing whether it's going to go this way or it's going to go south. And you start making plans for it. It's just like if you're working, right? You don't spend all your money in a house. You put some money away because there might come a time when you might not have that steady income. Make no mistake about it, folks who are retired will tell you when you retire, you don't earn the same as when you were working. You tend to earn like 2/3, sometimes a lot less than what you were earning. I went to the market, the fruit market yesterday, and it was senior citizen discount day or something like that. And I was wondering why there were so many seniors in there. I was kind of feeling a little, like left behind or something. I'm like, everybody's here. Where's mom? Kind of thing. And then I realized it was senior discount day. And seniors were buying fruits and veggies, but you could tell they had limited budgets. And I was like, you could look at them and tell these were folks who, when they were working, they had the income and so on. And now when you retire, you don't know how long you're going to live for. For crying out loud, you might be planning to live until you're 65, 67, 68, and you wake up and you're 85. And you're like, what am I going to do? So there are certain things that we all need to do. We need to look ahead. Some of us take on debt as we grow older, and it wears on you. And then you put your house up that you just paid off, or you go and take out another loan. And then all of a sudden, your income is diminished. You've lost your job. What would you do? What do you do? That's the question I want to ask you today. Are you prepared? What would you do if this happened to you? We look at people who live public lives, and publicly they're fired, right? Whether it's a news anchor or a politician or somebody in some public capacity. And you look at them and you're like, well, they can weather that storm. Not necessarily. because sometimes we allow ourselves to be defined by the roles we play. So, what would you do? What do you do when it happens to you? First thing that you do is sit back and take stock, make a list of where you are. No matter what it is, if they come and they ask you for a divorce, say, okay, you want a divorce? All right, well, we're going to split everything right down the middle. That usually changes the tone right away. They're going to hassle you, but you really want a divorce? Well, here's where we stand financially. So if we split, we're going to have to split our income. So we won't have joint income as we age. You're going to have this, and you're going to have to pay, somebody's going to pay alimony. So if your income was $10,000 a month, you're going to pay me $5,000 a month in alimony. So you're going to only live off $5,000 a month. Still want a divorce? Sure, let's do it. Right? If you have a job loss, do you have 6 months saved? Do you have 6 months of expenses saved? Perhaps not. Right? Hi, morning. Right? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you have 6 months? Hi, Derek. Do you have 6 months saved? These are the things that we have to ask ourselves. Do we take care of our health? What if you go to the doctor and they tell you, I think I see something? You think you see something, or maybe we need to do some more blood work to look at some other stuff. How are you prepared for those things? You have to sit down. First thing you do not rush to judgment and make a decision. You sit back and think. In those few moments, that's all the time you're going to have to think before all hell breaks loose. Sit down and think. What is my outcome? How do I want to come out of this? Because how we emerge determines how we feel about ourselves. If, for instance, you have lost a job, well, you've been on the job for some time, or you just started, but that job defines you somehow. It's part of your identity. It's what gives you that verve to get up in the mornings and go to work and be the worker bee and be the energizer bunny. So now suddenly you don't have that. What do? Well, take stock of all your skills. What are you great at? When you were working, what did they tell you that you were so good at? Form a brand around that. Form something around that and continue to find ways to do that. If it's a relationship, then there's nothing much you can do. You can't stalk people. You can't beg people because it's not going to move them. Because once they make up in their minds that this is it, okay, all right, move on. You go to the gym, you join a gym, you join a support group, you go out to eat, and you start life, you live your life. The point is, you've got to live your life to the fullest. And if they ask you, well, why aren't you mourning or so on? You say, well, what's the point? I have to live my life to the fullest every day. I don't know how long I'm going to live for. I can't sit here and moan and cope and hope that you will come back. I can't do that. I have to live my life in expectation that something great is going to happen to me. That should be our attitude. Every day that we wake up should be the day, no matter what else is going on. Friends, I have been in this place. I have been in this seat where I'm going to work today and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be fired today. That's when you're going to have to call it. I'm pretty sure you wake up this morning and you're pretty sure the person laying in bed beside you is going to tell you he doesn't want to. He doesn't want you anymore. I don't want you anymore. I don't want to see you anymore. I think we need to separate. Don't call me. Don't text me. Whatever. Been there. We've all been there. But do you think we should let those define us? Let me ask you this. In all honesty, you were born as a person. I think sometimes what we forget is who we really are. You have to go back to who you are. When someone broke up, when I broke up with him 2 years ago, and I had to say, really? I'm going to sit here and let this bother me? Did it bother me? Yes, it tore me apart. But I had to ask myself, go back to basics. Who are you? Go back to who you are. Go back to where you started. Sometimes we forget that. Go back to the person you were when you were 16, 17, and you were optimistic and filled with dreams and filled with hope. Go back to that. What kept you going all those years? Use it to fire you and fuel your fire today. Many of us, what we do, we sit back and we mourn. Yes, there's a time for mourning, but there's also a time for action. and you've got to act. You have a limited window of time to act, because you know why? Not because someone is holding the key to that, but because if you don't start talking to yourself and telling yourself how you're going to get over this, it never will happen. What you will find is that you end up just sitting in the same place, and you end up being depressed, and you pull the covers over and you don't open the blinds, and then you give up. I heard a story some years ago about a woman whose husband died suddenly, right? She it was a sudden thing. No one expected it. He just went for a walk and dropped dead, had a heart attack. And she fell into a depression because her husband was her whole life. Everything revolved around the life they had created with children and, the usual community of people around you, your social circles. And she said she went in her bedroom and she wouldn't even open the blinds, wouldn't come out. And she said it was a friend who came and said, I'm going to stand outside here until you come out, because if you don't come out, you never will. And she said that was her turning point. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we all have friends like that? Wouldn't it be nice if we all have friends who say, well, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to stay here until you come out? Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have to become our best friends. Sometimes we have to be the ones to say. So what I'm saying is, before any of this stuff happens, you build yourself up. I am not saying you're to lay in anticipation that someday your spouse, after 20 years, after 10 years, after 2 years, 3 years, however long it's been, it's going to come and tell you that they don't want to be with you anymore, or that you're on the job and suddenly. I'm not saying you're to live in anticipation of that. What I'm saying is that you live in anticipation that you are going to be victorious no matter what comes against you, that you are going to get through this and over this no matter what it is. And the way to do it is to change our perspectives about ourselves. Oftentimes, it's not so much what happens to us, but it's what happens in us. That's the problem. I have found that what the conversations I have with myself, the conversations that are going in my mind about me, my situation, is the most important conversation I need to have. People have walked out on me. They left me with 2 children to raise by myself in a country where I was an undocumented immigrant. I had no idea what I was going to do. If I packed up and left, then how could I come back in? What would my children's lives be like? This is their country now. What are they going to do? Seriously, these things happen. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that I am irreverent or ignorant of the hardships that afflict us. I've been there. But what I found was the conversation that was taking place inside of me was what helped me to overcome. Some days I had to repeat to myself, this too shall pass. I had to say it until I believed it. You have to tell yourself, this too shall pass. I will get over this and I will win. You have to say that even in spite of it. Even when they're escorting you through the door, pack up everything you have contributed to this company in a little box. Do not look at the box and look at the size of the box to determine your worth. That's not your worth. Please, when they are asking you to leave, don't throw a fit. Don't scream. Don't yell. Keep your dignity and walk out and say, thank you very much. Shake everybody's hands and say, see you. Thank you. Thank you. I wish you all the best. And keep it moving. Because it's about you. Is that tough to do? Yes. Are tears streaming down your face? Yes. When they told me I didn't have a job and my daughter was about to go to college and I was a single parent, I had no support. I didn't have any spouse or any kind of support that was going to help me figure this out. They shook my hand and wrote me a check for the contract, for what was left of the contract. I shook my hand and that was it. Tears streaming down my face. I said, I wish you all the best. And I walked out. Sometimes you have to walk in like Goliath and fight like David. Do you understand? The battles that are before us are huge. The life battles, the stuff that we find ourselves that we must do to overcome. Those are life battles. But you have to walk into it like Goliath. If you this morning have to walk into the doctor's office, and they are going to tell you that they have found some kind of cancer in your body. We rebuke it in the name of Jesus. I cancel it. But they tell you that they're going to have to operate. You're still walking like Goliath. And you say, Harriet, how can I do that? How can I even do that in spite of everything else? You have to, because you have to, because it's you. And how you survive and how you see yourself is going to determine the degree to which you survive. So you have to do this for yourself. If you wake up and your spouse hasn't come home for days now, it's been a few, and then he sends you a text, I'm done, I'll come and get my stuff, this is my lawyer's number, tell your lawyer, you send it back and say, have a great life, let's split it. You don't curse as much as you want to curse. Girl, go in your basement, take a bat, and hit something. But you know what you don't do? You save yourself. Get it out. Go to a spinning class. Go do some taekwondo or boxing. Get it out of you. Get all that negative energy out of you. And then once you get it out, you say, okay, here's my plan for my life. And you live again. There is life after 45. There's life after 50. There's life after 55. There's life after 60. There's life after 65. You don't believe me? Go to the nursing home and see all these seniors. They're smarter than we are. They're coasting. They're living until they're in their 80s, and they have a margarita every day. They have as much sex as they want to. Yes, seniors have sex like crazy, right? They have as much sex as they want, and they just go play bingo all day. And they're like, oh, when they see the snow and all that kind of stuff, they're like, look at them, oh, and laugh at us. They found something. It's how you think about yourself. And you wonder, how does an 85-year-old man get an erection? It's what he's thinking about himself. He's thinking, dang, I don't have to worry about getting anybody pregnant. I don't have to worry about men. And just the thought of it. I kid you not. Have you ever talked to some of these seniors? Talk to them. They can give you some nuggets on life. People who had to leave a job. And I know this is painful because just like you, like I've told you, I experienced that. It changed my lifestyle. Yes, irrevocably. And I took a nosedive. It was the way, and I had to ask myself, I said, what are you looking at? I said, what are you looking at, Harriet? What are you looking at? And I said, you have 24 hours to cry over this, and then you got to live. And then I sat down and I said, wait a minute. I had been building my brand. Let's continue working on the brand. And before you knew it, boom, that was the turning point. It became my catalyst for change. Perhaps this that you're going through is your catalyst for change. This is your change. How do you deal with it? And you say, wow, Harriet, a divorce. Really? It's been 30 years. We have everything together. He just came in and found some young thing. And what do you say? I said, and go find your young thing. Go get your whatever. Go get your groove back or whatever. Go join a spinning class. Feel good about it. Whatever is going to make you feel good about yourself. Did he leave you because he kept telling you that you were overweight? Go do something about it. Don't just sit there because you're going to blame yourself and you're going to hate yourself because you're going to say, that's why he left me. And this is what caused it. Are you going to sink into depression? Yes, you're going to have days when you feel absolutely low, but do not sit there. You're going to go talk to someone and they're going to say, well, I think you need some meds. And if the meds are going to help you, fine. But more invariably, you become addictive to the chemicals in the meds. So you had to figure this out. That's what I did. I said, well, it sounds like our bodies are incredibly more chemical than they want us to believe. So my body is going to respond to chemical stimulus. Do I want that? No. I better go talk to myself. You've been so busy. Guess what you've done? Forgotten to talk to you. Remember in the mornings when you were shaving and when you were putting your makeup on, you used to tell yourself, you're the greatest. Look at this. You look so great. You stopped because you're always rushing. So you forgot to talk to yourself. When you go in the car in the mirror and you look in the rearview mirror, you say, wow, what a smile. Man, I need to go to the dentist and improve that smile. You forgot to talk to yourself. You'd go to the store and put something on and you say, whoa, looking good. I just need to trim here a little, add a little there. That should do the trick. We've forgotten to talk to ourselves. And in not talking to ourselves, we have denied ourselves the power that lies within to help us to get through these things in life. So you have debt. You sent a kid to college and you're at midlife and you find that you owe more money than you have. And trim it. Downsize. Do you really need the big house anymore? Trim it so you can live. You don't know how, the point is, you don't know how long you're going to live for. What if you live for the next 30 years? Think about that, right? So I want to tell you a couple of things that I know will help you. One of the things to do is practice praying. You call it meditation. I call it prayer. Sit down and listen. Sometimes these things come and we say, wow, I didn't see it coming. No, 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 no. We just didn't pay attention. The smart thing to do is when you see it coming, you plan for it. Some things are inevitable. The company is going to fall. The company is going to close. They're going to change. They're going to remove you from the position and put someone else in the position, whatever. Some of these things are going to happen. But if you were really praying and meditating, you would hear it. So when it comes, it's not a blow. You're prepared for it. Sometimes it's not the size of the thing that attacks you. It's when it comes. So sometimes it's not just, it's the full effect of it is felt because you were unprepared for it. But if you can hear it and see it coming, then you have a plan around it. So they're going to fire you. You start looking for another job before they even hit you. You post your resume on Indeed.com. You start asking other people around you for other opportunities, and you invest in yourself. Some of us have forgotten that, haven't we? While you're busy working, building someone else's business and contributing to someone else's bottom line, were you helping you? Did you start a little thing on the side? Your side hustle, they call it. Did you start building something on the side? Were you working at it? Yes, sometimes you sign non-compete contracts that say you can't do the same thing that you're working in. Still do it anyhow. Yes, it's for you. They can fire you anytime. What are you going to do? Wait for the axe to fall? You can believe right up until if you know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you're going to win. And one way or another, you're going to emerge from this. And many of you are looking at me like, Harriet, really? Yeah, really. I am not going to tell you something that I have not done or lived. I lived it. That's why I can talk about it. And clearly, I survived. I had to rethink and reimagine the way that I lived. Yes. Did it affect the people around me? Yes, it affected my youngest daughter. She became resentful because she was like, why did this happen to me? Why did this have to be my story? And I'm like, it's life. And the thing is, when I was going through it, no one reached down. None of my family members, nobody reached down. My mother helped me, but nobody else. They laughed and made fun of me. The way I looked at it was, okay, so I guess it's your turn to feel on top. Enjoy, because your ride is limited. That's how I looked at it. You know what? That it changed your perspective totally. Because then what they're going to say doesn't affect you because it's how you look at it. And some of you, some people get fired and they don't tell their spouses or their family for weeks. It's not just the lack of income. It's not just the disappointment that they're looking at. It's also how they see themselves and how your family members will see them, that you no longer are a contributing part of the family. You're a loser. You don't have anything to offer. Is that really true? Sometimes you have to defend yourself and speak up for yourself. Is that really true? No. What about all the years when I did this? How come you never said it? You didn't call me a loser then? What about all the years when I got up and you have to say it to remind people of what you did? Because you also have to say it so you hear it. So you continue to believe in yourself. So this is my low time and this is how you're going to treat me. So maybe there was nothing there in the beginning. Now you have turned it onto them. Because sometimes people focus only on the currency of what you're doing now to determine your effectiveness. It's much like Smokey Robinson, Cicely Tyson. Just because they're not the current singers today, does that negate their contribution? This is why I like some other cultures, because look at Van Gogh and so on, right? And Picasso. Are they alive today? No. But they're still celebrated because of their contribution to culture. That's the same way you have to look at your life. If the people around you, if they're not accepting your contribution to having made their life better in the last few years, and then all of a sudden now something happened, and it's time for you to start revisiting how you really attach yourself to those folks. I kid you not. If they're children, you have to teach them a lesson. Talk to them. You still respect me. I'm still the parent. You still are going to remember the days when I contributed. And you're going to respect that. And you're going to help me get through this, because that's what we do together. Do you see where I'm coming from? And have this honest conversation with your spouse. If the rumblings are starting at work and you're like, I don't want to tell her because I don't want to tell her, so they're prepared. Look, we're going to have to contract our lifestyle because it looks like they're going to change the job. So here's what I would like you all to focus on. Don't do this, don't do that. Do you see where I'm coming from? You get them involved, so when it happens, they don't throw stuff in your face. And even if they throw stuff in your face, still stand up for yourself. Still remind them of who you are. Remind them of what you have done. There's a man named Jesus Christ. He never stopped reminding anybody of who he is. Did I not do miracles? Never stopped. Why? Because sometimes people have a way of forgetting when it's convenient for them or when it's expeditious. Remind them. Tell them. Because in saying that, you're affirming yourself, and your mind is hearing you speak about you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. This is how I say it, right? So even when they were coming at me, so you thought that you were going to do this, I said to somebody who I was related to, I said to them, until your name and your face appears on the back of a book and your face appears in a magazine that you're going to speak somewhere, don't talk to me. I didn't have a dime. The person felt like they were working and they had money and they had fluency. I said, until they never attacked me again, because your contribution and what you have done still stands. Do you see where I'm coming from? So you're the head of your family, and now all of a sudden you're not. Just because you're not earning doesn't remove you as the head of the family. You still remind them of where you were and where you're coming from, right? You were the co-contributor, right? You helped to make this work. Still remind them, because it's about you. Because make no mistake about it, stuff happens. Stuff happens. Believe me, it happens, especially as we approach midlife. That's when you can see the rumblings when you turn 40. But we still think at 40, we still think we're eternally youthful. But you start planning for it from 40. You don't wait for 45. You start planning at 40. And you make sure that as you approach it, you expect it. And when it does happen, you should say, well, time out. I was expecting this to happen. Here's what I'm going to do. So some of you are looking at me like, well, you know what, Harriet? That sounds like I need to take that next trip. Perhaps you should. Perhaps you should. Because sometimes I have to go back and remind myself of the things I did. Where was I? I think it was a couple of days ago. I was somewhere. And somebody asked me, where are you from? And I said, Montego Bay, Jamaica. And they're like, I've been there, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah. And they're like, do you ever go back? And I said, I haven't been in 20 years. And I said, why? And I said, look, before I left, I lived my life to the fullest. I experienced everything that I could experience. I walked on the beach. I flew in small planes. I held the throttle of a small plane over a high mountain. Oh my God. Yes, I did. Right? I rode horses. I lived very well. I have no regrets about that time. Do I have to revisit it constantly? No, I'm good. So in other words, when I was going through it at the time, I had no idea that I would have changed. I just was living in the moment, building something for myself for the future. And just in case you perhaps missed the boat on that, it's never too late. It's never too late. It's not too late for you to go do a course down at the community college. You can do online courses now. Maybe you're curious about something you want to study. Go get a certification in it. Is it going to help you? Maybe, maybe not. But look at it this way. If you package yourself with your experience and added certification to it, just maybe it will make you feel better about yourself. So when you're speaking to someone, you don't sound like I used to or I was. No, it's I am. Change the way you speak about yourself. Say I am. Don't say I am in between jobs. I'm a project manager. I'm currently working on a project. I am. State that. I am currently. Put yourself in the currency of the moment. Don't say, well, I used to work at. No, 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 no. When it's past, it's past. Well, I used to date. Well, I was married. No, I'm divorced and happily looking. Do you see what I'm saying? Don't speak of yourself in terms of what the past was. Don't let that define, because what you're doing is allowing that which was to define you. It's this thing that the Bible says about God. It says, I am he who is to come. I am that I am. It's in Exodus. It's powerful to me because I'm like, I am that I am who is to come. So you haven't come yet. So you were here. I am was, you were, and then you're still is. I'm like, okay, I got it. Do you see? It's the same way you need to look at yourself. Stop attaching those negative connotations to you. You used to be. No, you're not used to be. Don't let anybody use the term has been and say washed up. Say who you're talking to. Go color your grays, or if you don't feel like coloring your grays, sport it, wear it with a smile and with a walk to your lip. Do you see what I'm saying? Go get your teeth clean, stop smoking all that nicotine off. Change the way you look. Look at yourself every day, pat it up and look at it. And when you roll out, you do like this. Like a champion. Walk like a champion. Talk like a champion that you are. We don't give ourselves much credit. I'm wrapping up. I'll be done in just a minute. Right? You don't give yourselves any credit for who you really are. That's the saddest thing. You have not given yourself the credit for who you are. The things you have done and overcome, why don't you do yourself a favor? I'm asking you this. Do yourself this favor. Can you? Do yourself this favor. Get a piece of paper and write down on it your name at the top. And write on what you have done since way back when. From the time you were born until now, write it down. By the time you get to the point where you are now, you'll be like, oh my God, you know something? I'm just going to go out there and change. That's exactly it. We have allowed these roles that we play to define us. When I was married, I was somebody's wife. And they wanted me to live in that role forever, so much so they were going to beat me. And when I said, I don't want to be beaten anymore, please stop, they beat me even more. They wanted me, in fact, my ex-husband told me never to use my maiden name. The name I was given at birth is Kamak. You all know that, right? He wanted me to use his name. But as the marriage began to deteriorate, guess what I started doing? Started using my given name, right? He didn't like that. I was asserting myself, taking my power back, and making sure my identity stayed in check because I felt that I was born to do something. I have a purpose to my life. What's your purpose? Don't let the stuff of life, the divorce, the job loss, the sickness, these things come. Bind up sickness, curse it. But if it does come, speak to it. Job loss, speak to it. Divorce, speak to it. Accept that there are some things you can't change. It's inevitable. It happened. It's irrevocable. You can't change it, but you can change you. And I have found that when you change you, that's when people start calling you again. There might just be a time when the same job will call you back. Some folk might be there. They might not give you the position back, but they might just say, so-and-so, they're doing some things out there now. Your ex-spouse, give him time. Give her time, right? They're going to say, well, and you smile and keep it moving. Whatever is your ish. I'm just here to encourage you today that when these things come, believe in yourself. Believe, therefore, that you are you. Can I just pray with you? I just thank you for this time. And I just pray for each and every one of you watching this broadcast, that when something happens, that you are able to stand and walk like Goliath, that you are able to be like David, fight like David for your life, fight for your integrity, fight for your name, fight for your ability to survive. I just pray that you will find yourself in the midst of the storm, that you won't lose yourself, that you keep your Zen like and keep looking at the prize. And the prize is you must win. Write down every day that I must win. Thank you so much, everybody. I got to go. Thank you. Go to my website, harrietkemmick.com. Can you all just buy my books? Can you, Harriet Kemmick? On Amazon, Barnes and Noble. My books are translated in languages all over the world. So it doesn't matter where you are. To my friends in Turkey, I have friends in Istanbul who watch me, my friends in the UK and so on. Hey, thank you so much for sharing with me and being a part of my experience. Hear me out. You make my day. Thank you so much, everybody. Be blessed. I'll see you tomorrow, right? See you tomorrow. Be blessed. I gotta go. Thank you, everybody. Be blessed. See ya. Thank you, everybody. Be blessed.